Thank you very much. For the last 26 years, I have been working with leaders who are nonprofit and for-profit executives and help them with their career transitions. My name is George Dow, and my firm is George Dow Consulting. And you can go ahead and get it started. There you go. I'm going to talk to you about the pursuit of happiness, and the people that come to me are coming to me because either they're in a transition, searching for the next opportunity, or they're unhappy in their work. And so what I'm trying to do is to help them to see the possibilities. And what you see here is this Sherpa. I think that's probably the best way to describe what I do. I'm a career Sherpa. This is Tenzing Norgay, maybe the only Sherpa you might know the name of, and he was the first to climb Mount Everest. And what happens when people come to me is they say, I'd like to climb some new mountain, help me figure out which one, how to get there from here. And there are three main mountains that people think about climbing: either a career transition, a career transformation, or a career two-step. I'll be describing all three of those directions for you, and starting out with career transition. What happens in a career transition is it's going to be another job a lot like the last job. And we begin by looking in the rearview mirror, looking back and trying to figure out what's been most satisfying, what's been most successful, looking back over your stories. I have people come up with their top 8 achievements and dissect them to figure out where have I been at my best and what abilities have been revealed by those experiences. And then second, look at motivation, the drive that's applied to capabilities. And you end up with a formula that's ability times motivation equals performance. But that's never enough, because if you talk to recruiters, and we've got a few in this room, what they'll tell you is there'll be 3, 6, 10 candidates. They'll all have the ability and the motivation. The one that gets the job is typically the best fit. The one that fits the organization, the culture, the boss, the one that's the best fit typically gets the job. And so what I do is I help people with the assessment of what's next, and then provide some direction on resume, LinkedIn, but then the campaign. And in the campaign, typically, it's the 65 to 80% solution. Networking, I started this 26 years ago. This hasn't changed a bit. So this is the book I recommend. It's called The 20-Minute Networking Guide, and I give it to every client that comes my way. So that's a transition, looking at another job similar to the last job. But what if you want to do a transformation? It's when a client comes to me and says, is it too late to run away and join the circus? Because that's what they're feeling. They're feeling like they're in a circus maybe, but they want a different one. And they want an idea of how do you do that? If it's a really radical change, how does one do that? And over the years, I've found that this book is my favorite on the subject. It's called Working Identity by an author named Herminia Ibarra. She came up with this book and this concept to help people who are perhaps needing to not be quite so introspective, but to be really action-biased, to be more doer than dreamer, to get out there and first craft experiments. If you're thinking about a radical transformation, you've got to try it. Try it on for size. See if it's a good fit. Experiment with it. And instead of always going back to the same people that you talk to, shift connections. Move to people that are maybe outside of your circle, people that, that's interesting. I thought the slide would be up by now. Shift to people who are outside of your circle because they're going to take you to new places. We tend to go with the familiar. We tend to keep going back to the familiar. But you got to break away and find people that can take you to that new place. And then after the experiments, after the new connections, we've got to make sense. We've got to take account of what have we learned with those experiments, with those new connections. And what happens when people are making sense, the most common destination of my clients is to join the free agent nation. There's probably quite a few of you in this room that are independent consultants or contractors, people that have moved in that direction of the free agent world. Daniel Pink wrote this book in 2001. It's a great book. And I came to a conference and I heard Daniel Pink speak with my colleagues, other career coaches, and we said, this sounds like it's coming and it's growing in momentum, and it really has. But what are the dark sides? What are the challenges? And one of the challenges is that photograph needs to be pushed up a little bit. It is actually isolation. The word is hiding behind the picture. Isolation, fear, inability to leverage resources. We named the 3 biggest challenges of solo entrepreneurship. And fortunately, the next year, 2002, Daniel Pink wrote a sequel to the book that had a resource guide, Free Agent Nation Part 2. And he offered 101 free agent survival tips. And you'll see a blog there, January 2012 blog. On my website, georgedow.com, I have a number of blogs, about 50 blogs. This is one of them that helps explain what are the 101 free agent tips. And this is probably the best one, to form a fan club, to form a group that is a free agent nation club. Because, as the African proverb goes, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So the blog talks about pulling together people that can help support your success over time. I formed mine about 6 years ago. The career two-step with Fred and Ginger here, it's looking at, all right, a lot of clients need to get a big job next. A transition or a transformation is the next step. But they say, what's after that? When can I get off the hamster wheel? I've heard that a few times. And what typically is the preferred destination gets back to that life balance question. A broader, when it's economically feasible, when money doesn't leverage it as much, a better blend of life and work. This is a great book by David Corbett, The Portfolio Life. And what that looks like, in the next slide you'll see the pie is sliced in 3 main pieces: personal, professional, and community slices. And that blog I did in October 2014 describes it. Is a portfolio life right for you? When the time is right, after maybe the next big job, this is a really great destination. I've given you lots of things to think about in a very short time. And on the bottom of this next slide is my email address, george@georgedow.com. There's my email and my web address, and you can go look at my blogs. I've provided 3 career choices, 4 books, 3 blogs, and can you hear Gene Autry in the background? Happy trails to you. Thank you very much.